What happened? There's a Mr. Robert Fowler who was pulled over in January in this county and arrested for driving a stolen vehicle. Mr. Fowler, oddly enough, is an acquaintance of Mr. Orten, and he's also claims to work for our co-counsel, Darren Wolf. He lives up around Louisville. Now this is going to get weird.
It already has.
He
When you say he works for Mr. Wolf,
he has done some work for Mr. Wolf in terms of doing some odd jobs. Claims he assists with some drafting and pleading. Mr. Fowler has been in prison and was one of these legal aid, what I call the street lawyer type guys in prison, and claims to have some legal expertise, which is readily apparent when you listen to some of these tapes. He's given the detective a lot of legal advice in some of these recordings. But at any rate, he's arrested by a Hopkinsville patrol officer, and before he even gets anywhere, he tells him he wants to talk to a detective. He's got information about the Orten case. So the next morning, he is interviewed by two sheriff's detectives, deputy sheriffs, and that interview is recorded. We have been able to listen to that. That was because it was recorded in an interview room. It's fairly clear. He tells them all kinds of information that he has about Mr. Orten's case, and as Mr. Orten's been talking to him repeatedly, and he's feeding them back information. He says Mr. Orten trusts him because of his affiliation with Darren Wolf, in so many words. Then he tells them, well, he thinks Mr. Orten wants to eliminate a couple of witnesses. And he names a female witness and he names a male witness, or refers to him. I don't know if he actually used her name. I know he used the female's name, which is odd because the male witness is actually helpful in this case. But at any rate, he goes into all that, and they ask him, well, do you think these witnesses are in danger? Oh, yes, I do. And so at the end of the interview, I think it's Detective Norsworthy asked him if he could get Travis recorded, so to speak. Oh, and he says, oh yes, Travis, trust me and all that. And so they agree to do this. Well, then what happens is the Commonwealth, as we understand it, supplies him with two recorders, or at least one of them. One might be his. I know they supply it because he talks about it in one of his interviews. They supply him with a recorder, in essence, make him an agent of the Commonwealth, and have him contact Mr. Orten and record him. He does this, and many of the recordings are difficult to understand because he does a lot of it while he's driving in his truck or whatever vehicle he's riding in, and he apparently has his phone on speaker, and he has a recorder there, and he's trying to record him. In the recordings we've been able to listen to, Judge, there's only two so far. There are only two references to a witness, and in response to these questions, Mr. Orten clearly refutes his theory that Mr. Orten wants these witnesses eliminated or harmed or killed, whatever. That's just clearly refuted. But then he goes on and he starts getting into trial strategy. So you've got all these questions. He's pumping Mr. Orten for trial strategy. He calls him on the phone and records it as an agent for the Commonwealth. And he's getting trial strategy about, what's your theory on this? What are you going to do with this? Well, what about this? You're in deep trouble about this. What are you going to say about that? And so our trial strategy has been communicated to this guy who's recording it for the benefit of the Commonwealth. And in one of the recordings, Judge, I don't know if I think he accidentally leaves his recorder on quite a bit, because I think there's one of them where all you hear is snoring. I think he was sleeping while it was on. But in at least one of the recordings, he's talking to one of the detectives, one of the local detectives, and telling them, aside from giving this detective advice, and this is all recorded, he's telling him what trial strategy is, what Travis says about this, what he's going to say about that, what he's going to do here, what he's going to do there. No talk about the witness other than to say, well, he's no longer concerned about this female witness. But then the recordings go on and on and on after that. This witness was interviewed in January of this year. This recording that we've got where he's talking with the detective, I believe, is in February of this year. And he's talking about, well, are they going to have to disclose it? You know, and he's giving the detective advice, well, I don't think you have to disclose me because until she decides to use it. If she decides to use it, then you might have to disclose me, but you don't have to until then. And the detective responds, well, yes, I think that's what she's thinking. In fact, she's talking to, she knows this, and she's talking to people higher up at the Attorney General's office to see if she does have to disclose it. This is what the detective says in this recording that we've been provided, that we haven't even gotten all the way through yet. So we've got a very serious Sixth Amendment violation. We've got a very serious Fifth Amendment violation. In other words, when they start getting into anything other than that limited little investigation about these witnesses, which he actually tells the guy, well, she's not a problem. He's not concerned about her anymore. And they continue on, and he just continually pumps the accused for information, trial strategy. And those recordings have all been delivered to the Commonwealth. They've had them for a while, or for some time anyway.
And the same day I gave them to you.
And they were, well, in one of these, when he's talking to that detective, I think back in February, he's talking about, well, I'll deliver this recording to you, and then there's a, you know, on the recorder you gave me or something like that. We're still trying to understand these things. But we've got some serious issues here, Judge, that have to be developed. We've got to have an evidentiary hearing on this. Because we've got what appears to be a very egregious Sixth Amendment violation where they bypassed legal counsel, knowing he had legal counsel. The Commonwealth has its agent, and it bypasses legal counsel, and this agent is pumping him for information regarding trial strategy, trial techniques, all of this kind of stuff. And then the Fifth Amendment, he's already invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and back, I think, the day of the incident, and elected not to speak. And now they got their agent talking to him. So this is serious.